Hi, welcome back to Money Designs after our slight altercation this morning. Alfie's fine. He's we don't know how it happened, but he's caught his ear, and then with hubby falling, it's a bit like Alfie's got a bandage on his ear. He looks like Van Gogh, and so it's a bit like casualty in the bedroom at the minute. But they're both having a sleep behind me, so we should be okay. So part 2 is going to be the colouring in a doodle that I did earlier today. So I've traced it using my tracing paper. So I've traced the image. So I've kept this because I can use it on both sides. So I've got kind of a double image, and I've labelled it so that when I get really close to the other thing, I know which is which. And I know that all the number 3s go with all the number 3s, and so on and so forth. So you can use it that way, or you can flip it over and use it that way, and then you can kind of fill your space quite well. The other thing you can do is then, with this thinner paper, we can trace. So when I traced over the top of that one, it left a mark here. So I have a tracing to do. So I'm going to do that one really fine because it's got no lines around it. And then I'm going to do this one really strong. This one we can do black, dark patterns if we want to, similar to this one with the patterns. So I thought I'd have a bit of a play. The other thing, I used the stencil not only for the lettering but also for patterns. So this particular one had some quite interesting patterns that we could use. So I managed to, I think I drew an alphabet somewhere. I did draw an alphabet. Can't find it now. I'm sure I drew an alphabet. Maybe it was at this side. Don't have a clue. I'm going to put that one here because I know that's where that one is. I've got a little bit of a label then. So welcome back, guys. So everybody's okay. Alfie's got a little cut under his ear, so ears tend to bleed a lot. So we're not sure if he caught it on the car, because we don't normally put the cars down the drive, but we have been doing, seeing as we're not using them, we put them down the drive. A bit curious where I've put this. There it is. I knew I'd done one. I knew I'd got one. So put a little tag on that. So that I thought you could then you can draw flowers around it, or at least I drew that with the Unipin fine line water and fade proof pen 0.03. And I did it quite roughly, but actually it turned out quite well. So we can draw flowers, or I can do the doodle. The other thing I can do is trace that through there. I can trace this one if I want. Now normally I do like to use my rotary pens, but I need to go clean them. So So you can do a black and white patterns like Zentangle patterns inside these. So the reason I've copied this one several times is you can see the options of what you want to do. So we can colour it in black and white patterns. So we can fill it in with black and white patterns. We can colour it in strong colours, pastel colours. And it's nice to see the same image in different things. And the idea came when I bought a couple of books, the Caberosans, and I've done some very vibrant pages, and then I've done the same page in softer pastels. And so this is to kind of chill out a bit. So you can do your own doodle, or somebody's building a patio. So Alfie's on the bed. He's back with his mummy, so he's quite happy. And then when I left to fill the kettle, came back. Well, not the kettle. I went to wash my cup up, and he snuggled up to Nigel, so he's a fickle boy. Oops, somebody loves me. Oops, somebody loves me again. Oh, she did get her flowers. I sent my daughter some flowers for Mother's Day. So I just want to show that there's a difference between a dark line So once you've got this done, you can and if you haven't got the hobonichi or you haven't got sketchbook, just use some thinner paper, and then you can always put it in a file or put it in a book later. So now I've got different ones here now. Just drink my tea. So I drew the first one. I traced the first one, and then I drew that way, copied it, and then copied it that way. And when I copied it that way, it put a very faint line that way. So I haven't gone over it again. That's the original pencil line that's gone through. And then I've drawn it in dark, in liner pen that way. Sorry, just drinking my tea while it was warm. So you could either kind of go through and do different designs and fill it up with things to colour, or you can just think, right, okay, I've done a couple of things, I'm going to colour them in now. So I'm not sure if I used to put a piece of paper behind, actually. I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I've used some quite dark ones. I did try to use it as a hobonichi, but I didn't get very far. I think that was my birthday. When did I make it? 2015 I made this book. So it's quite old. I think it's time that I started using it. I think when we stopped doing a lot of model shows. So again, filling things out, making stitches. So I've got a few things to colour. Things I like, things I didn't like. And that's what this kind of book is. Because I made it myself, it's kind of an experimental book. So just generally doing doodles and things and then colouring them in. And I do use my little book of watercolours for two reasons. One is they're not as strong as direct colours. And I don't think I've got any water in this one. I haven't got much water in this one either. I don't think I've got much water in this one either. So I might as well go fill both of those. I'll have to go fill those up. So I'm not going to be using this set today. I'll be using my little book of watercolours purely because I've always done that. So when I've taken this out, I took my little book of watercolours with me, and when I had the thinner one, the cover that I have for this hobonichi cover, I have a lovely book cover. Actually, the watercolour book fitted inside it. Now this one won't because it's too chunky. But there again, that might inspire me to make another one to fit into this book. So I've got kind of one system. So I've got one book, one lot of watercolours, and I've got my Derwent watercolour brush. I've been using this. I've been using this little book because this is the one that I drew quite a few years ago, and that was my Bunny Designs logo. I took this to across Europe when I was expecting my Amy, so she's 23 next month, so it's about 24 years old. It's still the same doodle, and just kind of had to doodle and colour as I went on the train. So some of it's a bit hit and miss. Some colours that I really like. I usually stuck to 3 colours. I don't know why. I just stuck to three colours. But I like that combination of just 3 colours. And of course, these were the Caran d'Ache little set that I had. I think there was 12 in the little tin of Caran d'Ache nail colour 2s. But they didn't call them colour 2s then. I think they just called them Caran d'Ache watercolour pastels. So I'll colour that in, but I'm going to be using this this set here, probably flicking between my Neocolor 2s and my Derwents. I think I'll be flicking through these because there's some really nice olive colours, but then the Caran d'Ache ones have got some nice purples. I do like some of the yellows and some of the pinks in the Peerless, and then the Derwents, there's one or two yellow ones that I quite like. Lagoon is one of my favorites. I always kind of go for Lagoon because it's one of my favorite colors. So there's some, and Geranium Lake is also a nice color. So I've got some favorite colors, but it is nice to just flick and think, I use that one, and then I might use a pink from something else. So that's what this book allows you to do. I haven't found the other Untitled watercolor yet. I really don't know where that is, but sure I'll find it. So it is getting quite chunky. But the other nice thing about it is it doesn't matter what way around it is, you can still sit it here and flick. So I can flick it that way or I can flip it up. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's near you and it's easy to just flip, touch and go, that's what we're aiming for today. It's the beautiful teals and greens, field green and beach green, vivid green, grass green, some gorgeous greens in the Inktense. And when you use them from a paper palette, they are slightly they're not quite as intense, and it means that you don't always go through your pages. And that goes for the Peerless as well, because otherwise they'll be kind of really, really bright. So I just have to fill my water brushes. Might as well do this. I've lost the top somewhere, put it somewhere. Now I've got one without a top on it. But they're both quite good. So if I fill both these two up. So thanks for joining me, guys. And if you've got any questions, just see who we've got here. So I'm quite lucky that my touch screen, my Dell touch screen computer works with my Oogie little pen, so it's quite handy. So I'll just bob and fill the water up for a second, because if I do it from here, I'll probably make a boo-boo. Unless, oh, look at this, I can do it from here. It'll be dirty water though, that's the only thing. It's not going to be clean water, but it saves me getting up. So in theory, I can do this. I might just fill one up because it's not particularly clean water. So It's not too dirty, but it's definitely not clean. I think I used it to wash the brush out last week, so I'll leave that one empty. It's only slightly stained, so it'll be fine. Again, this isn't precious, it's just practicing, so it's not precious. Put the lid back on that one because I will lose that. So yeah, you can see it's just turned color, but that's fine, I can live with that. So probably not looking at these colors, I don't think, although I suppose you could use it as a color guide. Get rid of that. I put that on the end of there, so I lose it. Sit that there. Right. So again, I can flick here. I think I like this because I think that's the right way around, because they're all named. So it just makes that a little bit easier. And flip this. So I think I'm going to start this one first. I think I'm going to do this one first because it means there's nothing on here. It's a plain piece. It's just I can see it through, which I think looks quite good. So there's a burnt umber that I kind of like for this one. So we'll see what this is doing. Now we'll also see if we go through or not. So it shows through, but it doesn't go through. But I'm not going to use, I think it's a bit of a, it shouldn't be. It's the Derwent watercolor pencil. Maybe I shouldn't. I must do less scrubbing. And that's Alfie. We can hear snoring in the background. He's got a cut ear, so he's feeling a bit sorry for himself. And poor hubby's trying to have a nap, and I'm waffling, so apologies to poor hubby. So we'll see what this looks like. Again, we don't want to mess about too much with colour because we don't want to go through. I mean, it's showing through, but it doesn't go through. So that's really important. So again, you've got to be careful probably with the ink tints and the Peerless. They might be a bit too strong, but we might get away with the Derwent watercolor pencils and the Neocolor 2s. So we might just get away with that. This is Imperial Purple. But again, that's a tone down here, and yet these are stronger, so that's quite nice. And I think this one, again, I'm turning the page around to get more comfortable. Let me just have a look at that one. I'm sure that's right. And just activating the tip, because one thing we don't want is too much. And there's nothing drawn on this side. It's just I can see through from the other side how it was drawn. So oh, and now I've got some purple and I don't want more purple. Just put that in the middle of that one out of the way, clean the brush. And then we need, I'm going to go back to that brown again, because I think this is part of that one. Again, not too much water because it might go through and we don't want that. So now I need a purple. So I think I'm going to go for yellow because I'm going for 3 colors. So I think I'm going to use this deep cadmium, which has then gone to this lovely pale yellow. So again, using a bit more color than I did before, so not a pinprick this time. These spaces are bigger, so I'm going for a bigger space, so probably the size of a pinboard pin, that kind of size. Or maybe drawing pin, the small drawing pin, not the very big drawing pins, but a normal drawing pin, because I do want it to pick up a little bit of color. But I kind of like that. I'm getting the watercolor effect, because when I do the other side, I can do a stronger color because it's got the pencil line around it. But I like the idea of doing this one quite pale. So we've got that little flower, that's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be a butterfly. So we've got Geranium Lake, which is one of my favorite colors. That one probably was a bit strong, but that's fine. Maybe go back to a pinprick. It should still move about, this one, because it is so now I've got Geranium Lake. I now need to do a different one, so I think I'll do this one. And that was almost a pinhead. Some colors are a lot stronger than others. So this one we're going to have red and green. So I know I need a green to go with that. So I am sticking to these colors. Mineral green looks quite nice, or the bottle green. I think mineral green. That'll hold that down. So mineral green for this one. And again, you know, about a pinhead. You might need to practice on a couple of pages before you start your real one if you want, because this is a different paper. There aren't any, I don't think there are any watercolor papers this thin. Bible pages, and that's why I was saying about the Bible pages. You can use a very gentle wash, but not with this brush. But with a very damp rigger, you can use this method. Not straight from the pencil, but you can use the paper palette method for your Bible journaling, and it will show through, but it won't go through. So that's what you get on your Bible pages, and it's a nice way to work as well. but this is behaving quite well. It's not too wet, but you can't really use that on your Bible pages because it will crinkle. So I've got pink thing, and I think I'm going to go for an orange in the middle. Oh, let's have a look at the neos. I think I'm going to start for this particular page. I am going to stick with the Derwent watercolor pencils because I do have 72, so I do have a lot of colors to work from. And maple yellow number 7, and I do have a touch of green on there by mistake, but that's fine. And I think I'm going to use this one over here. Now, I went over that twice, and again, it hasn't gone through, but it's showing through. So really, you really don't want to go through it twice. So once you've picked something, you've got to stick with it. So I think I finished that one. That's an Alfie Master having a snore, because that's what he does. He uses snory pants. So about a pinhead again. Remember, this is not such a big space. These are small shapes. So think about that. If they were very big shapes, you get a lot of crinkle. But I have ironed a Bible page before today with the little travel iron, not the steam ones, the travel irons. And so you can manage to do that. So again, these little tiny spaces, because you really don't want more than that. I'm just wondering if that flower, if it was the bottom part of that flower, I might have to find the said flower. It wasn't in here, was it? It was in the other book. It was in the other book. So I have an oldish sketchbook somewhere. Oh dear. I shall be back in a second, guys. Just have to take this. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. I just had a live cam from my little baby. She's so gorgeous and I miss her so much. And she's growing so much. And this is what's happening at the moment. Alfie's got his ear caught, so that was bleeding, but it's just his ears, and ears are terrible. And hubby's got when I broke my wrist, I had a sling, and he's got my splint on that they put on when I broke my scaphoid. But I've nipped his wrist all the way down. I've tickled his fingers, and I've put the splint on, so that it protects his thumb, and it's the one that they did when I broke my scaphoid here. So he's in the walls, and then Alfie's he looks like Van Gogh because he's got a bandage on his ear. Hi Kenny, welcome to Bunny Designs. Anybody else popping in? So we had to have a baby cam because she's and she's growing so much, and she's so cute. There she is. She's so cute. It's a bit dark, that, isn't it? It's a bit dark. But she's such a little doll. And I miss her dearly because I can't get over to see her. There she is again. She's a cutie pie. So I had to have a bit of an Alfie cam. So I'm playing in my fake hobonichi. And I was thinking about doing this the other day because we've got lined paper, so you can just actually use it in its original form, which is it's just paper. I don't think I've got the front for this. This is what I use for my fake hobonichi. I use it because it's really thin, and I use it for my Midori. And I have a fake Midori, and I have an ordinary Midori, and I use it for my Filofax because I bullet journal. And I find if I use little squares, I'm a neat writer. I need to write it, and because I'm neater, I write more. This was my mum's that she had during the war, and I had but the leather is scrumdiddlyumptious. I mean, I know I'm a vegan, but I can't throw away my mum's things. And what I did is I took the thickness out. I took the gussets out. I unpicked the gussets, which I still have, so I can actually put it back together. So I took the gussets out, and it has now a fasten, and then I put 2 holes in it here and 2 here, and that made my hobonichi. And if you have A4 size paper and you fold it inside, so A4 is printer paper size, which is normally our folder size. If you fold them in half, they actually fit perfect. Thank you, darling. So this is a sketchbook that I made, and I used old bits of chain and old things that I'd found as and wallpaper. This is my Laura Ashley wallpaper. I think I've taken this to bits because that looks like it's an eraser. So I've used this as a sketchbook. And of course, in here, you can get your pens and things in here because it has a really old-fashioned zip. So it's a very big, and I managed to find these weekly planners. And of course, they fit perfectly. So I just folded them up. I got the A4 again, which is the printer size. So I think that's about 11¼ by 8½. Just folded them in half, and then every week I had the middle, so I could plan the week. And when that has gone, I can take it out, and I've got another week. And I really thought that was brilliant because I think I just had to cut a bit off the top and a bit off the bottom. But apart from that, it fitted perfectly. And it's a really nice size because obviously it's foolscap, what they call foolscap size. So I have a month will go down here quite easily. Now, what I normally do is turn that upside down so that the holes are at the far side, because I can put my dates down here, and I don't really usually write right to the end. So that's my fake hobonichi, my fake Midori, which is a big size, and I loved it because I mean it's just absolutely brilliant. It was my mum's handbag, so I've got kind of an attachment to it. And these old-fashioned clutch bags were made of really nice leather, and it's got the edges kind of just lovely. I don't have to do anything with it, and it's very thick because it's old. So they used to be what I call proper leather. I do have a real Midori, and I can't actually find it, so it's somewhere in a bag with the covers of these, because I've made about 6 bags. I also make my inserts for this is my gorgeous Malden Filofax, the Holborn, and it has pockets here and pockets there and pockets here and zip pockets, and I really love this. And I don't think I've got anything in it at the minute because I'm in the process of putting it back together. But I use this paper and just keep folding it and cutting it, and then putting the hole punches in for the Filofax. But this is the paper that I use. And the other thing is, I only use this paper. I don't have any plain, but I use it throughout the. Have you got your dinner on the bed? Alf is on the bed. So I use this paper because you can get a lot of pages. Because I think there's 600. I might just check that, because there's 1 page of plain, then I've got a page of, and you can see here so this basically, if I open it up in the middle, we'll do it that way. So there's the stitching. So I've laid an A4 printer paper size A4, laid that down. Underneath it, I've got a full page of the foolscap lined paper, together with the holes, but they don't bother me. And then I've got, it's very thin, is this paper. And then I've got another page of plain. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 5 pages in a signature, but actually I've got 10 because I folded it. So there's 10 pages in each signature, and I've got I don't know, and I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I've got 25 signatures with 10 sheets in. Oh, so that's only 250 then. That's not as many as I thought. I don't know why I thought that. Oh, I've only got 250 pages, but it is quite thin. Why did I think I had more? I thought I had 600 pages. No, so I've got 250 pages in that one. I've been telling porkies. It's still quite a lot of pages for something that's, I think it's 2 fingers thick. Sorry guys, I thought I made one with 600 pages. Oh, that was my big one, wasn't it? Yeah, there's this one. Now, again, I've neglected this one, but the nicest thing about moving upstairs is that all the books I've made are in front of me. This one has a lot of pages. This is the big one that I made out of a giant cornflake box, and this has lots of different pages. It has good quality sketchbook paper, it's got brown paper, it's got oh, there's the doodle, can't help it, just pops up. It just pops up, there's that doodle. There's the mushrooms. They were my original mushrooms. Butterflies, all sorts of things. Lots of them I don't really like, but it's just a scribble. It's a junk journal, this one. It's a junk journal to scribble. Oh, I must have done a bit of that. Napkins. I must have put some napkins in there. I didn't even remember doing that. it's obviously I've done it, but I have no recollection of doing that. That's a bit scary. Books, starting book pages. This one, as I say, this one's quite nice. Oh, that's my daughter in her prom dress. So I've got quite a few pages in this one, and again it's made the same way, but the stitches are on the outside this time. And this is just the figure 8 one, so I've got some little, oh, I must have broken that one. I've got some little metal, broken that one off as well. Oh dear. And then, oops, and then at the bottom I've got really chunky beads, and these were all off same necklace. I've got chunky beads on here, and these are my this is the pages I'm working on. So I pull that open, pull that one open. These are my bookmarks, and then that folds down and that folds across, but it did get squashed, but it's quite chunky. Is that it's the biggest cornflake box you can get, so it's got quite a big spine on it. It's 3 3/4 inches, so it's 9 centimeters. So it's a bit of a chunky one, this, but it's the biggest cornflake box I could find. So when I used to go shopping, I didn't look at the actual food content. I looked at the boxes. I was this odd girl going around Sainsbury's looking for boxes that I could make into books, because I refused to buy cardboard. So I have another one, which it must be downstairs. Actually, I wonder if it's in that bag. And I watched Jenny Bellew when she made hers. She scrunched up brown paper, and then I used a sparkly acrylic paint. And I think people were making it for like the Harry Potter book with the eye. Not the Harry Potter book, the there's Bette Midler in the Halloween movie. Oh, and there's a book of spells that she has, and she shouts "book," and it has an eye. And there was a craze on making this book. I can't think of the movie. Oh my goodness! Hey, Jessica Parker was in it as well. It's not called Halloween. I can't remember what it's called. It's not called Broomsticks. It was a long time ago. What do they call that? It's not called Halloween. Oh, for goodness sake. And it's about 3 witches. Oh my goodness me, the brain's gone. But it's a good movie, and in it there's this book. I'm going to have to Google it, guys, because it would drive me nuts, because I can't remember drawing some of these drawings. So I tend to have to do this because I get a bit scatty. So oh, I can't think of the name. Hocus Pocus. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Nobody Owens. Thank you, Hocus Pocus. Thank you. Oh, my brain. Anyway, that's what the book was like, and I think we grunged it up with scrumpled up brown paper and dried it, and then creased it. Can't find that book anywhere. Thought I had brought it up because I wanted to use it, but it's not upstairs. But I was really amazed of this really cheap acrylic paint that actually works really well, because if you go for rubbing, I've got some rubbing glitter paint, gold, and it was about £8 for a tube, and this others was really cheap. I think I've got a video of me making it. I think so, but again, it's going back to when I first made videos, when I used to do all sorts of things. So I stopped doing them because my hands were bad, so I'm not sure if I could do this Copic stitch. But if you go to Sea Lemon and Google her, she's the best one. She does the stitching, the Copic stitch, which is Japanese bookbinding. And I think she also did the figure 8 one as well. I don't know what the figure 8 one's called. You can get arrested for that, Miss Nobody Owens. So I'm just she said she was lurking, that's all. Lurking with intent. So where was I? I was playing in this side. And I really like these little soft things. Now that means that when I go to this side here, I can do, because I've drawn it in pen, I can use my really bright, vibrant colours. And again, I like that. Sometimes I like to be bold and sometimes I like to be kind of soft. And this paper is really nice. It's not quite as fine as the Japanese rice paper, but you've got that gorgeous crinkle that you get in the hobonichis, and there's just something really nice about the crinkle. It's just really nice. And this one is just as thin, so it's just nice. It's called layout paper. You can get one that's a little bit thicker called marker paper, and obviously that's thicker so that you can draw it with markers. We used it when we did graphic design in the 80s, and they still do make the liner, and they make the marker paper as well. So if you've got all those Copic markers and the the chameleon pens, and that's really good for markers as well. But I think people are stopping people trying to buy things. I was going to buy the these are the paints that I found. Oops, here, and I wanted to buy them, but I'm thinking, am I going to encourage people to be working? This is, so when we buy all these things online, we're still going to have people delivering them and doing them. So I was a bit kind of into minds, but it's the Derwent Ink Tense. No, it isn't. It's the Derwent. Oh, come on, I've just seen them. Derwent Metallic Watercolor, and it's in the same pan. This is at the art discount, I think the £17. So it's a pan of 12 colours, and they look very similar to the ones that were in the pencil form, but they've now put them in a pan. So as I say, I was, beg your pardon, they're £19.50, beg your pardon. But then, as I say, I think we've got to be a bit careful buying lots of things online, because that's putting other people at risk. So again, I like the fact that now when I get my lovely cover back, I'm going to ask Cubby if he'll carry it upstairs. It's a bit heavy. I'll ask him. I found a bag downstairs that has it might have that book in it, because all the books I made, I put in a bag and they don't seem to have come upstairs. So I made quite a few of these books. I made that one. I made the sketchbook one. And the sketchbook one was this size. It was that size, and so that's why I ended up with a piece of cardboard. So I cut the cardboard into 4, and that gave me a back and a front for this one, and then I cut them and folded the sketchbook paper and made the signatures in the same way. And the reason I did it is because I was sick to death of getting a sketchbook and it not lying flat. So I love this. It will lie flat. So that's the beginning of the signature. It doesn't matter where you are, it'll lie flat. And there's just something so nice about that, because the worst thing of sketchbooks is they do this and you have to break the spine. So that's another reason I bought the double the size that I wanted, because obviously this is only A5. So if you want a larger one, you can buy the A2, A4, A5, A4. This is A3. So basically it's 2 printer pages. And what you do that way is you cut it long, cut it in the middle, and then you fold them. And that's what I did, and that's why it gave me twice. This sketchbook was only this thick, but I doubled it because I made so many pages. So again, I like chunky books, so I went for chunky. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope everybody's okay. So I might see if I can make another book. What I may do is start it and then give it to my daughter to finish. That'll do 2 things. One, you can see how to start it, and the other one is she can learn how to do it when she finishes it. Because I always think they need to do something. So if I just put that there, it might hold this back. So this page, I was only playing with my Derwents with the number 2 brush, the number 1 brush, beg your pardon. And you want to have it where it's not dripping, so it's got to be just barely damp, and then you can see it drying. That's what we want. We want to see it drying. It's dried now. I've only just done that. You want about 10-20 seconds, and that's going to make sure that you've got enough time to get the color on, but then it'll dry and it doesn't crinkle your page. But there is a video of me ironing my Bible pages because I got a crinkle. So that one's the pinky red, so I could do with a different blue, turquoisey blue. And there's thousands of combinations that you can do. And again, now I've got the problem of having this deep, because it's this deep. So a way to get out of that is to get a book and do that. So now we can have that control that we need. Again, just very quickly, because I don't really want to be hanging about stroking more than once or twice, because I don't mind a few crinkles, but I don't want to go through the page. Now, obviously, if you've got pencils, you can use them in your hobonichi. And again, this is a lovely, gentle way. I'm not in it to win it. I'm just here to just gently make these little marks and then colour them in. It takes probably a couple of days, maybe all day to all weekend, to make lots of marks, and then another weekend to fill them in. And again, the one thing we're going to have on our hands is time. And we can get away from traditional colours, so we can use lots of different colours. And this brush is just going to behave itself. So I'm going to have to ask hubby if he would possibly. think I'm going to, oops, I'm going to put that one over there, I think, because I think the dogs probably are getting a bit fractious as well, because all the animals are a bit kind of, why is everybody around all day? Because normally they're on their own and they say, oh, we're going to have a little bit of a nap now, and they can't do that because there's somebody in. So I think they're getting a little bit fractious as well. So we go back to this blue here. And I've done quite soft colours. You know, we can do quite bright ones if we want to. But again, I just want this little soft, gentle way to work. So this one is technically upside down, so I think I might turn that round. So I've done a geranium lake, so we'll have to have an Elysian crimson, which is a very dark colour. And after you've covered a few of these in, you're probably going to end up with quite an array of colours. Some that you'll like, and some that you think, oh, hang on a minute, I don't like that one very much. I should not have done that, but eek, did it. So again, just a pinhead of colour, because I quite like the fact that we've got just that little bit. And we need to pick a green, emerald green. I'll just go with the emerald green. And it did have a touch of that red in it, so it made it quite dull. So again, you know, you've got that option if you want to do that. Got to be a little bit careful that you don't contaminate the squares, because it probably will never go away. So we've got to be a little bit careful, but having a small amount probably is okay. So I think I'm going to do a brown on that one, I think. Nothing goes through. It's just like on your Bible pages. So that one goes all the way down to there. So that needs to be pink as well. Remember, this is the one that I haven't drawn on. I can only see through what's on the other side. It's not drawn on, so you end up with a lovely soft you can do each one completely different, so you get a different effect. So now I need a brown. I think I'm going with this copper beech for a change. So we've got copper beech, and I do like the idea of 3 colors. It seems I did learn that when I was playing about with the stronger colors, that 3 colors work really well. and it just seems to be quite a natural way to go, to just make these colours pale. Now, I do like really bright colours, so I will be using, the next one I do will be in complete contrast. And you can't really see, but I do love that crinkle. Sorry, guys. I do love that crinkle. Oh, hi, Gina. Welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is my little book of watercolors. So I've got, I've, over the years, and, you know, I've had some of my Derwent pencils for 30 years. The vintage set I got in the 80s. So I've scratched squares of colors. So I've got the 72 Derwent watercolor pencils, the Inktense pencils. My husband, everybody buys them for Christmas or birthday. It's normally a big present. Inktense 72. I also have lots of different Neocolor too. Some again I've had from the 80s when they were just pastels. They were just water-based pastels. This is a vintage set here. And then I've got the little thinner ones, but some of these are the thicker ones, the vintage set, which is here if I can pick it up. They were called Neo Art in those days, and they're almost identical to, I don't think they've changed the formula, maybe just very slightly because they're a little bit creamier. You can tell sometimes which ones are the old ones and which aren't, but I've got about 220, I think, Neos, and it's on extra wet strength sketchbook paper, so that means that when I've used it I can scratch back over it again. And then I've got my Peerless Watercolors, and again I've got a full set, so I need to put a few more, not quite a full set, haven't got the pinks, but I've got quite a good set of those. This is the original set that I bought, so they're well used. I also found, bought by chance, the Swiss Caran d'Ache ones, and the do have another one as well, and I can't remember what it was called. Faber-Castell, but I don't know which one it is. It's the Faber-Castell watercolor pencils, and then the Swiss, and there's a set of 36, and then I put my Gansai Tambi watercolors in there. So that just meant that I'm trying to get 10,000 colors. I'm trying to get 1,000 squares. I think on the original one, because I did have, I had my Hydrus in there, and I had some of my other watercolors in there. I think I managed to get about 600. So I was hoping with this bigger photo album from Paper Chase, I was hoping that when I'd cut all the sleeves open that hold the photographs, I would get 1,000 squares, and each square gives you about 10 shades because they are so vibrant. Most of them will give you 10, if not 20, but definitely 10 different shades. So that would make 10,000. There is a video, it's very old, about me doing this one. I did explain it in my last one. I will do a video on it, or I'll do it next week. I'll tell you why. Because I want to show what to do with the paint when you get it on your brush, because after you've twisted it, you're going to wash it away. And when I did these 36 pages, I colored 36 full mandala pages with the paint that I would have just washed away. It takes a long time because you do your squares and then you're coloring, And I kept colouring. I kept touching the water and watering it down and watering it down and watering it down until there was nothing left. And from these strong colours to these colours, as I say, I got 36. Just bear with me a second, guys. Sorry about that. Hubby's just asked me about tea. I did squeeze yesterday. I squeezed these out of my professional tubes, and they'll be going in. Some are a little bit tacky, some have dried. So all the red ones, because red, it's the nature of the compound or the chemical, the compound of carmine that makes it so strong. The binder that's in a majority of them won't set. So that one's tacky, that one's tacky, that's a red, that's a reddy brown. But all the others, especially the blues, they're hard now. The reddy greens again. So the idea is that I think all these are dry. That's a bit tacky, that one, because it's got red in it, you see. They will be going in my book, and there'll be a plastic, because it's a photo album, it has plastic. So it could be like that. But what I might do with these, because that will stick, I might build a little, I did before, I built a little bit of, because it's about 5 millimeters thick. You can just see they're sticking out a bit. So I'm going to put all my watercolors in here. So again, we've got 10 shades of these. Some of them we've got a bit more, but these are, and this again is the touch and go system. So we're not making colors, we're not mixing colors. It's the touch and go system that you can do with just the Derwent watercolor brush, and you can do that on any color book except for Bible pages. This is just a little bit too wet for Bible pages. I did some watercoloring on a tissue, on a napkin, on a single layer of napkin, and I did that with a barely damp rigger. And if you can do that on a single layer of it was a line drawing of I think I sent one to Dee Dee, actually. There's a line drawing of birds and roses, and if you can master colouring in on that, that's the consistency you need for Bible journaling with watercolor. And the only one I use is the Derwent watercolor pencil, and I use it off a paper palette, because if you use it off the pencil itself, it's too strong and it will go through, whereas normally it just shows through. I'll show you. I might do some Bible journaling next week. Not really got that channel off the ground. I think this is the one. But there's a couple of videos, and one of them is me ironing this page because I got a crinkle. I think that one, I ironed this page because it had a crinkle. So those are Derwent watercolor pencils used on a paper palette, and you can watercolor in your Bible. But as I say, I got a bit of a crinkle, so I made this from a plastic file, and then I ironed my page underneath it. So that page, and I think it was that one. I think it was this one. But I love the watercolor effect and to be able to do it on a Bible page is, you know, is quite nice. And this paper here is almost as thin, so that's why I love this. But you can't do it with the Neos or the Derwents because the Inktense, because they go through. Hope that made a bit of sense. I've got quite a lot of things to do. I think I might do that on the other channel, actually. I think I might do that. I think so. We'll have to see. So I'm not sure what, I don't know if that's the end of that one. I think it's the end of that one or the beginning of that one. No, that's that one and that's that one. So I need the green for that one. Oh, have I got it now?
There's a green Iceland.
Is it green?
Yeah, and it's got things like Pyrex dishes like that in, and some lids off these.
Is that the only one?
That's the only one.
Because that was made out of material blue,
yeah.
And there's the big book that I made. I can't find that either.
Yeah.
Never mind. You wouldn't do me a favour and take photographs? Ask Amy. Yeah. Take photographs of all the things. Right. We're packing all the baby things away because the baby won't be coming for a while. So I'm getting my daughter's made me some tea, so I'm going to turn the sound down, but I'm going to continue to colour. And the nicest thing about this is you can colour one-handed. As I say, I told yesterday, when my husband had stroke, I was in the stroke ward, and I just used this system in a colour book so that I know you can do it one-handed. So I'm just going to pop that onto there. In fact, it's cold, so I could eat it cold. It doesn't matter. So I'm sure you don't want to hear me chomping. So I need to go back to there. So because my granddaughter can't come round, we're packing all the baby things away because I've got I have two mini, like an Instapot, and then I've got like I've got one that will steam and fry, and then I've got a big Instapot, but it's the Wilko's one. I think that was £25. The little one was about 10 or 15, something ridiculous. And I've got those into this house, into the bedroom, because that's where I'm doing the cooking most of the time for me. And I think I'll probably have to go back to that because I've also got a small kettle upstairs, a kettle that gives you a cup of water at a time. And the reason for that is that I'm self-isolating away from the family, but they've all been on lockdown for 2 weeks and they're all fine. But my daughter is just going back. She's gone back to work and she's working in a care home. So I was hoping that she would have PPE, but I can't imagine she has. So when she comes home, if hubby decides that he's going to stay with them, which I don't want him to, we're going to split the house up. So I've now got all the cooking things, and then I had the baby high chair, and I had the little seat chair that she was sitting on. I had all the baby food, a baby food maker, a baby steamer, a bottle maker. I had absolutely everything. I've used the wrong pink on this, but never mind. So all that's gone into storage because I would think she's not going to be coming for about 6 months. I haven't told my daughter that. But I would imagine it's going to be 6 months before this is over, if not a year. But we've just packed all her baby clothes that I've just bought. Everything, all the nappies. I can't even give the nappies away because she won't be in this size nappy when she comes again. So we're kind of like, oh dear, wish we could give the nappies to somebody, because I've just bought a full pack of nappies and a full pack of baby wipes from Aldi. So I don't think she'll be in that size nappy. But of course I can't. I've opened the pack, so I can't really give them to anybody. So my husband says, I said, well, we'll post them to my daughter. He says, well, by the time you've done that, you might as well just throw them away. And I thought, I don't really want to throw them away. I'm a bit of a tight Yorkshire lass. I'd like them to be used by somebody. I wondered why that went through. You see, look. You see, that's gone. It's not gone through, but almost, because I've gone onto the Inktense. And this is why I've made a little, I found a little secondhand vintage. Oh my goodness me, where's it gone? Probably that was my original book. That was my original little book, that one. I've tried pastels, I've tried pencil pastels, I've tried everything. So this one here, what I've done with this is I've put all my 72 Derwent watercolor pencils on 2 squares each page. And this has got some nice plastic between. And this one will be going into the Bible journaling bag that I have, because I've kind of done the same thing. I've gone back onto here when I really should have been here. And if you do that on your Bible page, it will show through. Now, you can tell the difference. It's almost gone. So that's the reason I do it automatically. And I know that the Inktense pencils, the Neos and the Peerless will go through this paper. So that's why I want to stick to this. Actually, but that makes it quite nice, because that means I could use that one with this book as well as the Bible changing. So you've got to keep on the 72. Otherwise, you drop a boo-boo like I've just done. And this plastic's a lot nicer as well. So you can't be too wet. That is quite wet, that bit. Just about get away with it. And found another little leaf. And another little leaf there. Oh, she's done it again. Silly girl. And it just seems to work really well. That's an Alfie hair. We want a nice green, cedar green. think that should have been red really, but I can do it the petal colour next time. So if we look at that side, oh, missed a little tiny, oh, I have done that. I've got some little tiny ones down here. And these are this green, so just got to clean the brush. So I've got quite a lot of little diddy ones here. So I've got that one and that one. And that was the pink. So let's carmine. So I think if I hold it up, so I quite like that page. It's very thick. If anybody's got any oh yes, Gina, they're the Senilia. I will be putting those in, and like they never dry. The Senilia, but I did have them on here, but they were tacky forever. But as you say, that's a different method. So making fat puddles of color, I think, is the best. And you don't get obviously that full intense color, but you do get, it does kind of work a bit, so it's not too bad. But touching these colors at the minute will be too strong for this paper. So I've done that one. And I kind of like it on the other side. It's just very soft. But this one, I think I'm going to do, I drew it with pen somewhere. That was the pen one. But if I put it down, you can see the squares through. And that's when I was doing the patterns. So find the pen. And so we can follow the patterns. Now you can do it with a ruler, or if you want to, so it looks like that one's the things that shapes. That's different patterns, but they're basically the same. I like this one, which was different patterns and then a pattern behind it, and this is just all basic embroidery stitches, black work. That one's I've just lined through. That one I've left an I've kind of left the image but then done it in pen, sorry, in that's another one that I've done like this. So actually I don't know if I want to do it again, but I could colour it, I suppose. So there's lots of ways to colour in on this paper, but I'll do this one and then we can see. So you can do all the downward strokes first and then change because again, you've got to have that nice soft wrist action, because you need to be comfortable. If you're not comfortable, it's not going to work. And again, it's just a case of just slowly working your way through. It's a bit difficult with these little tiny ones, but we can manage. Kind of like this. I might not do the cross. I might leave it lined. So you can do all sorts of things. You can do this with a ruler and forget the lines that are behind, or you can use the squares that you can see behind. And again, this is taking up time, which is what we need to do. We need to start a project and we need to occupy our time and our mind, and that's what this does. So we're creating a pattern, we're being a little bit creative, but with a bit of a help from a stencil or from a tracing. And kids' stencils are brilliant for this. I've got a bit of a wobble on now because my wrist is hurting. I don't normally use pens because my wrist doesn't like them. That's why I invented watercoloring, because all the stress is in that little bounce. When you're drawing, all the stress is on the end of the pencil or on the pen, and it's just not really comfortable. So that's why I've had to do a lot of I did quite a lot of drawing on the iPad, but then I lost all the work, so I wasn't happy with that either. So I lost thousands of photographs and videos of the baby when she was little, thousands of photos and videos of all our Irish holidays over the past few years. Not a happy girl. I would think the easiest thing to do now is to turn that upside down and draw that way. Because when you're trying to do this down here, it's twist. So thanks for joining me, guys. If you've got any questions, pop them in caps. And I know you're talking to me, although sometimes I do catch a bit. Oops, got a bit wobble on again. But I think that looks quite nice because it shows that it's hand drawn. You've not used a ruler. I think I've nearly finished now. And I think I'm not going to do I think I like the lines. Oh, I've done the cross over there though, haven't I? Yeah, but I can have a mistake down at the bottom there because I've already done the cross one, although I did like it, I have to say. These are black work stitches as well, so you can look, there's I think it's Jacobean stitching. That's a cross. It's a type of stitching, and they're all geometric shapes, so they would work really well on the squares. So yeah, I kind of like that. I like that. That's that one. So I've got that. So again, I kind of like that. The only other thing you could do is then do another stripe in the middle. Oh, you're going to draw straight lines, which I suppose the best thing to do would be to get a ruler, and then you could just go straight down as you go. But and I kind of like doing this. Again, this is a ruler is kind of a bit of a it's another noisy implement, and we kind of want to be a bit quiet. So I don't know, I think it might be a little bit more organic to do it this way. And this is what takes the time. This is the preparation for the colouring. So this is what takes the time. And you can do other patterns as well. It doesn't have to be just this pattern. So again, this is what takes the time, playing, making nice patterns. And this was with the stencil, the child stencil. Can't remember which one it was now. I've popped it somewhere. taking the circles and the straight lines and making shapes. If you don't have a shape that I did, this one I've got somewhere. Again, I'm sure it's in one of the books. I can't find it, so we'll have to just see where I've put it. So you're just kind of working your way around, making shapes, and then you might think, well, I want to do more. So, because once you've got stripes, you can then, wow, that was a bit wobbly, do the top ones, and then we'll turn it over, because for some reason when you're at the top you've got a better grip. So Alfie is on the bed pretending to be Vincent van Gogh. He's got a sling round his head holding his ear on and Hubby's got a sling round his neck holding his wrist on. So they've both been in the wars within the space of 24 hours. Unfortunately, Alfie got in the way of the big bruiser from Romania, and she doesn't understand rough and tumble, and Alfie gets frightened, and then it starts World War III, because he squeals and she doesn't know what the squeal is. She thinks it's a sign of aggression, but Alfie puts his little girl scream on, and then it's all hell because she thinks he's been aggressive, so she retaliates. So unfortunately we've got a Yorkshire Cavalier King Charles, and we've got a Romanian Alsatian stroke Dachshund, and their communication skills are not the best. And we were hoping, she's been on a couple of puppy, she still thinks she's a puppy, that's the problem. So we were taking her to puppy lessons, but of course at the moment they're off, so, and I'm not well enough to train them. I've trained all my dogs, but I just can't, I can't train her now. I can't hold a dog now. So, and it's better if I don't train her because she's not my dog. So really, it is better if I do not train her. But she's a bit like a wayward child. She reminds me of me because I was wild when I was a kid. No social graces. She's just a big girl and she pushes her weight around. So I've just, I was going to turn this one over, wasn't I? Yep, changed my mind. I think I've done it. So I kind of like that, but if I show you on a little bit of paper that I had a bit of rough, didn't I? So if we've got a shape like this and we've got lines going in it like that, we can start to put diagonals in it like that, and there's then absolutely no stopping you. So I've had a play. I quite like that. Don't think my wrist will like it. Oh, sorry guys. God. Right, so what we want to do now is to go down there and up and down there. And this is where this concentration comes from, but then it's brilliant because you really are concentrating. And because you are concentrating, it's gonna, it's gonna take you about an hour to do that. So you're using I mean, you don't have to do them all the same. You could do them all differently. So you could do crosses that way. And you can do curves. And again, this is why technically it's not a mandala. Sorry, beg your pardon. It's not. A Zentangle. But you can do it. So you can put a dot in the middle of that one. And I don't know, you can this is the mindless bit. Now I'm hurting at the minute, so I'm not kind of doing as probably as good job as I could do, but this is the bit that you're thinking about patterns, but it's repetitive, so you kind of go in a meditative state a little bit, and that's the calming bit. When you get to this bit doing this, it makes you calm. And then you can do that. And this is where you're just kind of messing about. And then after you've finished all this and done this kind of quite intricate pattern, you get to colour it in, which is another therapeutic thing to do. So it's a double whammy because you're doing your own doodle, and you're also, which takes a couple of days. It would take, you're messing about, and then it's just really easy then, because you can just kind of think, okay, then I like that, I'm going to repeat it. The trick is to try and do every single one different. If it's a good line, you can just do these lines. And then you can think, okay then, and of course it's not going through even though it's pen. And you think, okay then, actually I will put that underneath, because the next thing we can think about is we now think I can colour some in. So we've got a black and white one, and then we've got one that's coloured in black shapes. So it's a black and white sketch. So again, if you don't got your colours with you, just use what you've got, because so then you can think, okay, then I might, now this is something that I probably won't be doing again, purely because of my wrist. And again, concentration and takes you into a stress-free place. And it's not precious, it's not got to be exact, because that would cause pressure, and the idea is we're not having pressure on ourselves, we're just chilling out. And that's the idea, that we don't want to do that. We just want to be able to chill out and do a bit of colouring at the same time. So then we can do this. And again, we can put then we can kind of use a ruler. And we can just generally scribble away. And be sure as we do it. And you can fill it that way. And if you look on the side, it's not going through. It shows through, but it's not gone through. So again, that's quite good. So you could just carry on like that. And then if we go back to these two have just been drawn. This is lined paper, so that's plain paper. So this one is lined. So again, we could do something completely different, which I don't think I've done before. Just have a look for my, I forgot my dinner's up there, guys. See if I can have a munch. Because I've run out of biscuits now, so I've been living on oat biscuits. Aha. So I can get rid of that one. Oh, my chair does that silly thing. So now I can have a go in these. Let's look at the Neos. So the Neocolor 2s. I can now colour in squares. So again, depending on what you want to do, you could go, right, well, that's going to be a yellow square. And if you look, the colours get paler. And that's what I mean about having these 10 shades for each square. So we can now colour in flat colours. And this is Neocolor 2s, and again it shows through but it hasn't gone through, so we know we're quite happy with that. I'll do another one there. And then we want to have a green, so we've got phthalo green. That one's number 200. I can't see what colour that one is, so we'll have this green here. But because your brush gets stronger colours and then different colours, we could go to a different green. So it's a bit of a patchwork. I've never done this before. I just thought it'd be a good idea. So I just thought I'd use the different greens. It looks quite good. It looks quite patchworky, that one. So say sometimes you just get an idea and you can go with it because it's not that precious. You are just experimenting, and then you might suddenly think, oh, I'm going to use this. I'm going to do a painting and I'm going to use this patchwork thing and painting squares or dots, which was Seurat's thing. So you come across things quite by chance sometimes. I've got some green on here now, and the tight Yorkshire lass in me says I can't waste it. So I think I might just colour this one in. And the Neos go a long way, so we've got all that out of there. So it's gone from a line drawing to a pattern drawing to a coloured pattern drawing, and it's got coloured with the black squares in it as well. So it's evolved. So now I need a red. I need some reds, I think, or pinks to go in there. So I think, and again, I've got the plastic between each one. This is where a photograph should be, but I've cut it open and put this in it. So we'll have a little bit of this one in here. And I've got the red, so I'm actually going to colour 2 pages at the same time because I'm a tight Yorkshire lass and I can't waste that colour. So I probably need to And again, you do get really engrossed in what you're doing. So I'm ending up doing 2 pages, 2 pages at once now. So we've got this one here, so I think we could possibly have some quite nice pinks on this one. So we'll go there and go there, and then pick up a bit brighter colour. I kind of like that. It has, when it's dried, it has kind of a nice feel to it, something that completely different that I've done before. So I think I'll just have a bit of pink on there. Just have to steal a bit more pink. I'm actually sticking with the Neos for this one, but the beauty of this is you can do anything you like, really. So I kind of like that, and I think I'm just going to do that one. Purple. It's still a little bit wet, that one. So you can see there's kind of patchworky yellows over there, kind of patchworky. Kind of, I really like that, actually. I like that. Now I've kind of got to do a colour. And I think that's growing on me as well. So I need a green. And I could use a green from the Inktense pencils if I wanted to. I think these blues are quite nice. This is Blue Jeans 155, and that wants to be this one. Again, this is a nice little gentle way to work because it's a small spaces, so it's just a gentle way to work, which is quite nice. You're not rushing around doing big colours. 2 colours I think might be okay, I think.
We should be all right for you.
I've not had a chance to get it yet, darling. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
But thanks Amy for me, won't you?
Sorry?
Thank Amy for me.
Okay.
Thank you. And I've got a little bit of a blue, so I'm going to do a small space, I think, and I've got a bit more blue up here, so I might just have to think. I love when you get these really pale coloured blues. All these gorgeous colours come out of one really bright colour, and I love that. So you don't have to buy the tertiary colours because they're normally in there anyway. So I'm going to have, I think I'm going to have they're not always in colour, because when I got to the end I did find some obscure colours, so I sometimes have a little bit of a again, I like it to dry quicker than that, really. So again, I'm just going to put this colour. And it's another really nice, soft way to work. I'll just put that on with that one, I think, perhaps. I think that's part of that one. And you do, oops, I'm going to say, you do get carried away what you're doing, because I was going to colour the whole thing in then. Oops. So you do get carried away. It's quite a strong orange, is that one. And get some lovely, very pale colours from a really strong colour. kind of like that one. And I do have a tiny bit more, so I'm just going to put that on there. So you get some beautiful soft pastel colours from these really strong colours, and that's how it works quite well. Have I tried the Tyvek? I've got some. I've got some to make books, but I made mine differently. But I have made quite a few books. In fact, I've just found lots of books that I've made that I'd forgotten, and that's why I've got all the patterned paper up there. So again, I've got everything in my bedroom. And I need to be using it. So I think I'm going to kick hubby out again because I let him sleep in the bedroom last night. We sleep nose to tail, so he's still 6 foot away from me because he's been mixing with the girls. And I was thinking that that he would be fine, but he wants to mix with the girls because he's only 68. He wants to mix with the girls, whereas I'm only 57, but I've got asthma and chronic kidney disease, so I've got to be a little bit careful, and not so much that I might not make it, but the fact that if I get ill, I probably will have to go into hospital. So I'm bunging up a bed that somebody else might desperately need. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to think that if I don't need a bed, there's one there for somebody else. So that's why I'm doing it. So I've got my water bottle. I've got the thing that makes a cup of a hot drink. I've got rice. I've found some. I've got down to my last stock cube, and then hubby found me some more. So I've got some stock cubes, so I can make like a pot noodle. So if you boil water with a stock cube and put some rice noodles in it, I usually put garlic, and I used to years ago put prawns with it, but I just do that and it makes a pot noodle. And I've actually timed it, and it's quicker to do mine than it is a pot noodle. So I use finer noodles, and I just put a spoon of bouillon powder in it, the vegan one, but I haven't got any at the minute, so I'm going to have to use the vegan stock ones. But the good news is because hubby woke me up at 4 o'clock for some painkillers. I went online because obviously I couldn't go back to sleep, and I managed to find Asda, and there were 3 slots for a delivery because we've not had any shopping I haven't been shopping for about 6 weeks, but we've not had any shopping. So I tried Sainsbury's where we normally shop, and everyone could not get through. And I cannot go shopping. I cannot go out. So, and I haven't been out for maybe 3 or 4 weeks now. So in fact, I don't think I've been 3 or 4 weeks now. So I've been in my bedroom, so I've brought all my art stuff up here. And then we had all the baby stuff up here because it was going to be that I could do my art while we had the baby, because I can't take the baby downstairs because of the dogs. And as it happens, she's not coming now, so I've had to put the high chair away, and the baby things, and the steamer, and the bottled steamer, and the baby maker, and the baby food maker. Not the baby maker, the baby food maker, and the sterilizer and everything else, all the bottles. And then I went and bought lots of clothes for her, so my daughter didn't have to bring a suitcase. So I've also got a suitcase full of baby clothes, which they're not going to fit her when she gets here. But hey ho, because I said to my husband, shall we just shove it in a big box and send it to her? But probably just give it to a charity shop, I think, when charity shops get going again. So I've put all that stuff in the attic, which has left me a bit of room, but I've got kind of like 2 Instapots when I make porridge with. The other one's a pressure cooker, and it's from Wilko's, and I thought I'd buy the cheap one, and it was on a half price, so I think it was £20. And the fact that my husband's dropped it as he brought it up, and it's got a dint in it, it's absolutely brilliant. And I thought, well, I'll buy a cheap one, and if I like it, I'll buy an expensive Instapot, but I thought there's no point buying an expensive one if I'm not going to use it. And I found I was really impressed with the Wilko's one. And then I have their oh, I don't know what it's called. I'll show you what I've got. And this is in the bedroom, so it's a bit crowded in here. And then my daughter said, "Do you want to put things away, Mother?" I went, "No, I don't. I've got a bowl of fruit." And I've got them in front of the window ledge so that I can open a window. So I've got Wilko's pressure cooker and I've got Wilko's multi-cooker. So this one, the lid isn't sealed. This one is a pressure cooker. And I did have they brought me some vegetables up, which they'd peeled and chopped. And I threw them in there and I made a casserole in 8 minutes. They had cheese and bread on theirs and I had vegan cheese on mine. This one makes porridge in the morning. It takes 48 minutes for porridge, but it's fine because I put it on and I can't stand there and stir. I also made a risotto last week and I made a risotto this week with this one. So this one is a lot bigger than this one, but pictures, it shows it differently. But I was dead impressed with this one, a soup in 8 minutes, a casserole, a vegetable casserole. But I could have put, this one will fry, so I fry the onions off and then I tip them into here. So this one you can, and this one I fried the onions off and then I put the rice in it and the stock in it, and then you turn it to risotto and it'll make a risotto, and you don't have to stir. So that's what I've got in my room. So it's a bit stuffed in here. It's a bit, and now I've got an Alfie with his poorly ear. I think he's on the bed, because my daughter's made my pasta, but I've got to be really careful what I eat. I'm not really allowed kidney beans, but if I didn't eat that, I wouldn't have any protein. I've only had 2 biscuits today. I am losing weight because I'm busy. I'm busy. I'm busy streaming, and when I stream, I used to lose weight, and of course I'm streaming every day because I'm thinking about keeping this on all the time. Now, a lady said yesterday, was saying, "Oh, well, why don't you put a Kirby Roseanne and then they can have a look at things?" The idea of this is that if I do this and I turn the sound off, you can still type. So the idea is that if I left the sound off and the camera closed, because remember, if it's my bedroom and I'm asleep, there wouldn't be any light. But it means that the chat is open all the time. And the idea that if somebody in England wakes up at 2 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they might feel a bit anxious, or they just want to natter with somebody, or they just need some contact with another human. And they're part of our group, obviously, then they can go online. And then if somebody at the other side of the world, it's lunchtime or breakfast time, and they've got a cup of coffee, they might just pop on just to say hi, that there's nobody at the other side of the planet that needs a bit of 5 minutes chatter with. So that was the idea of leaving the chat open, so people can log on, can go, just go on and see if anybody's there, just needs a bit of help. Because there's no way you can probably ring up your relatives at 2 o'clock in the morning because you can't sleep, or your mother or your daughter or whatever, but you could maybe chat to somebody at the other side of the world. And the same with America and Australia. If somebody wakes up during the night thinking, oh, I just need to just have a bit of a natter with somebody, they can't text anybody because they're all asleep, but they might be able to pop on to this channel and have a natter. And the other reason, I was thinking that, yes, we've got Facebook and we've got Twitter, but on my Facebook and Twitter, I've got thousands of people. And I don't think it's as safe as our little group that we have here. I don't know if everybody else feels that, but the idea is this is a really safe little group. And when I say little group, I mean crafters and watercolorists and things. So it's just a safe place to be, and you can talk about colouring or anything you like, but it just means that if anybody just needs that little bit of human contact, they're not thinking, oh my goodness me, I can't ring anybody up, I can't text anybody because it's 2 a.m. So my idea was to leave that open, but not this bit, because obviously it'll be in the dark, and I forgot about that. But obviously, because it's actually in my bedroom, is the camera. The desk is, as I moved it up so that I could be. Originally, I moved it up to be with Felicity because I could still carry on with Felicity drawing or being in the background with me. Because I found that I couldn't do anything for 7 months because I've had Felicity quite a lot, which I've loved. But it meant that, you know, she's sat in her high chair, like now she would be sitting in her high chair, and playing and drawing and things, and I would be on here. So we'd already moved a lot of the stuff up, but we hadn't moved the cookers in and the kettle. I have a little, it's a water boiler, so what you do is you put your mug underneath it and it just lets out a mug full of boiling water when you press a button, because I can't lift a kettle, so it makes a mug of tea or a mug of whatever. So that's where we are here. So that was my idea. So I don't know if that's okay. So I don't know if, Gina, if that was for me or if that was for somebody else you were chatting with about it. So if anybody's got any questions, if you pop them in caps, I know you're chatting to me. I know. So as I say, that was my idea. I do like, I don't know if you can see the little like patchwork colors. They look quite sweet, and I've not done that before, so it looks quite nice. So I need to do those 2 colors, and these are the original ones that I drew when I was 16, 17. So when I first went to art school. So it's quite an old drawing is this, and this is my doodle. So there will be some stamps coming out, and you can use these for the Bible pages, because I've got them. Oops. I think I've used them in this one. Yeah. So that was playing with all sorts, and that's how I knew that the ink tents would go through. That's ink tents. Neocolor 2s go through. So this was my practice page. So I found that all these beautiful Derwent watercolors, they show through. Oops, sorry guys, you can't see that. You show through but didn't go through. But Inktense and Peerless went straight through. And this is a Neocolor 2. Or is it? No, that might not be a Neocolor. Yes, it is. It's a Neocolor 2, I think, is that one. So I was practicing with that. So then what I've done is, I don't know if I've done any in this one. I've put 2, that was bought for me a long time ago by my ex-husband, actually. A Wedgwood necklace. I'd forgotten about that. They do come in handy sometimes, the X's. Then I bought this one because it had the wide margins, and again this is the one that I've when I went to Ireland I got this one. And again, this is Derwent watercolor pencil, made from a paper, drawn from a paper palette, not direct because it's not as strong, and you can see it but it doesn't go through. So this is all the doodle, and then that will go round the edge of this Bible page here. I did have some more, but I don't know what I've done with them. No, I don't know what I've done with them. But I'll probably do a few videos for that one as well. Oh, I didn't put that back. So we have an injured boy on the bed, but Suzanne's not here, is she? So I have to show Suzanne. Injured boy, injured boy might just be coming over. So that's a nice flower. I'm going to turn that way up because that flower is that way up, but it's obviously the wrong way around now. So we've got some quite nice orange reds here. This is flame red. Again, you've got to be a little bit comfortable, and I've got this ridge on my wrist, so it gets on my nerves a little bit. And then oops, I think that one actually. Get there eventually. And again, definitely not full strength, probably half strength here somewhere, but definitely not full strength. I think I might have to do that one as well. And there's so little colour on here that it's not going to show very much. So it's a little bit wet. That I don't know if you can see that is a bit wet. You can see it's still wet. Now it's dried. That's how quick it dries. It should be dry quicker. Should be drying quicker than that. But hey ho. So we've done that one. And flick back. And we got some greens, I think. I think we'll have this one. So you don't need many colours, just to kind of, if you do one very strong and then one pale, you can get away with not as many. Again, sometimes you've got to really think about where things are going to go. But the nicest thing is you can do any colours you like, because you're making it up. So again, that frees you up a little bit, and you can just kind of do what you like. So that's always quite nice when I keep forgetting the little boy is in bed behind me. Poor little boy. I think that one could be green as well, so we may as well do that one at the same time. I could look at the original, but so we've got I don't think I've got a lot of green to spare over this one. I think we could have brown now, and that one browns, and so the neos are quite strong, but I'm not picking up tons of colour because I don't really want kind of really bright colours. What I normally do is always go to the little square at the bottom, but I haven't been doing that for some reason. Oh, there's Woo Woo. She's in disgraces, Woo Woo. And again, it's another really quiet gentle way to work, and I do kind of like that. It's kind of, it grows on you, so I like that. So we can just use that colour in there. So I think I'm going to go back, although I don't have to stick to 3 colours. I like to stick to 3 colours, so we could do with those greens being possibly about. So that one is that one. This is the tail of this one, so maybe that's why this one is green as well then. So you just have a little bit of thinking. Again, it's a shape that I've not used for a bit, so they can all be, apart from that one. Think back crack that one. Back to the oranges again, orange reds, because we know so if we do all these the same, we'll know what flowers with what, so it will match up eventually. But as I say, it's a very, very peaceful, quiet way to work. I think we're almost there. I think that's going to be another orange one, and that could be them all now. Let's just that one. And we'll have it's a really quiet, simple way to work, and I love this touch and go system. And the beauty of it is you can do it for hours. Your hands will never hurt because all the bounce is in the brush. So we got some quite nice greens. Which are surprisingly quite similar. But again, it's not quite monotonous, but there is an order to it, but it's quite chilling because you're not kind of doing anything. You're just filling in little squares. So it's quite therapeutic, I have to say. And when my husband had a stroke, it kept me really calm. So I know it works. And it's almost silent. So you can do it in a stroke ward and nobody can, no water, no mess, no pencils. So it is quite relaxing. Is that a question for me, Gina? Pop it in caps and then I know you're talking to me. Otherwise, I completely ignore you. I do apologise. If you can pop it in caps, I know you're talking to me. So that's that one. And I think that middle one's going to be the same as well. Because I haven't got my glasses on, because if I've got my glasses on, this will be blurred. So I can't read too well when things are. So we've got a green one. That is such a pale green. That is just a real soft peel. Oh, sorry, the Tyvek. Tyvek. Just a second. Oh, was the Tyvek between these pages? No, it's got to be plastic. It's got to be plastic. That's why it's so much easier. You will drive yourself nuts if you're cutting any squares. Even I made a mess when I cut these up. You need a photo album. It's so much easier to use a photo album. This is a vintage one. I paid 50p for. This is the original one that I used. And you just slot instead of slotting a photograph in it, you need this. You just put in between, so it's got plastic in between. I put extra ones in, and so I cut them down, but look how ugly they are. So if you had to cut every one, and that was actually just a piece of plastic. That was, sorry, it was a polyview, so it was already a square, but it still looked horrendous. So this is the best way to do it, is to slide this in and have your colors on either side, and then take another one, slide it in, have colors either side. There's quite a few videos of it, but no, not Tyvek. It's got to be a photo album because it's nice plastic. I made this one, and I haven't used this book for about 3 or 4 years. I haven't used this book, maybe not quite 3 or 4 years. I made this one out of a photo album, and I hated the plastic. It drove me nuts because every time I just didn't like it. I didn't like the feel of it. So I've ripped this to bits. So that's where you put your photograph, and that's and I just hated it. I hated it. So I never used the book, and yet I used to use this book all the time. So I decided it was obviously the plastic I didn't like. So this one is the same as this, but instead of it having 24 prints, this is for 100. So that's the difference. So if you've only got a few colors, I prefer this one because it was easier to make. All I did was I got photocopy paper and put photocopy paper here, stuck the colors on, and then slipped it in. So that's in that one. Slip it over, put that one in that one. And even these squares lasted me years. And so you've got plastic, and then you put another one in here, and then you'd have another set of colors on both sides. So if you shut the book, like in hospital, you shut the book and it's wet, it doesn't matter, because the little bit of color on the other side is not going to contaminate anything. And the photocopy paper lasted forever. These are the original ones. This is the original one that I made. There's quite a few videos, if you look on the playlist up there somewhere, for my little travel book and revamping my little travel book. But photocopy paper, because it's cheap and cheerful. The only thing is the thing you scratch the pencil, good quality pencil or wax, good quality watercolor crayon, it has to be extra wet strength. You can get different ones, but the best one is sea white, and it's 140 GSM, acid free, extra wet strength. And what that means is that you can wet this paper to get the color off, and then when it's dry you can re-scratch over the top. And I didn't expect these to do that, so I made little squares, but this has lasted me quite a few years. So then I decided that I would make bigger squares, because I know that this paper, you can wet it and it will always go back. So now it's dried, I can get that pencil and I can scratch over the top. And there's another video called revamping. So that means that what I did is I went through my pencils and I re-scratched all the color on the bit that was missing, because some of them took more of a batting than others, some of my favorite colors. And I think I've done it with the Derwent pencils as well. So there's quite a few books on it, but definitely for the pages, you want thin photocopy paper, otherwise it's going to bung your book up. But for the actual squares that are going to hold the color and you are going to keep re-wetting, you need that one had, this one had, if you look on the original videos, this one had foam squares, foam strips, and I built like a frame around it, so the plastic did sit touching it. It sat off it. I can't. So if you can imagine that there's a little I double layered the foam, but it's downstairs, so I can't do it now. All my stuff is, a lot of this craft stuff is downstairs. It's just the art stuff that's up here. So this, I built it up so that every time the book shut, there was a gap. I haven't done this one yet because I only squeezed them out yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before yesterday. There's a video on me doing this. So I will again have to build this up. But I can't do it too much because it's going to create so much bulk. So I think the better idea, which I will be doing with all my watercolors, is these little fat puddles of color. This works. This is the Gansai Tambi watercolors. So made a good puddle of color and then twisted it until I had a fat puddle of color and let it dry. But the Gansai Tambi watercolor guys, they've brought out their own puddles. Yes, a bit like a shadow box. Yeah. But between all the other pages, it has to be plastic, and the best one is a frame. So this one I've cut. If you watch the other videos, this is where you would put a photograph in here, and I think I showed it like this yesterday. So you put a photograph in there, and then there is a sheet of plastic loose in here, and then you put another photograph in there. So that's how you would normally use this paper chase photo album. You can get 100 photographs in here. So what I did is I cut down the side, and then I cut the top off, and what that gave me, you have to put the light on, darling.
Yeah, sure.
So what that gave me is a thin one, a thick one. Let's see if I can go somewhere.
Alfie out for a week.
Yeah, I don't know where he is.
Go on then, Alf.
Is he on the bed?
Yeah.
Good boy. Here we are. So what I've got here is 3. So I've got a thinner one. I've got the thick one that was inside. Oh gosh, sorry, I can't show you on that one either. Duh. Right. Thin. No, I'm fine. I'm a bit gasping. I'll have to come off. I've been on 3 hours. Right. So here we go. So that's where one photo was. That's where the other photo was. So I've cut down the side, not very neatly. I've cut the top off. So that's given me one thin piece, one thicker piece, and one thin piece. And all I'm doing is putting my color, my double-sided color, in here, flipping over and putting another one. So say if I did this one, I would stick those two together with just a little bit of double-sided tape, not much, just a little bit, and stick that in. And then when that was wet, it's been protected. So this one was like this. So this is what the photo album looked like. So this photo album was a top pocket. So you would have put a photo in there, and you would have put a photograph in there. So what I've done is I've cut down here, and I've cut the bottom. I sliced it with a, if you can see, I sliced it with a scalpel knife. So what that's given me is I can put double-sided colour here. I have to stick them in, and then double-sided sticky 2 pages here, and 2 pages here. So I've got 3 pages out, but the plastic has to be in between each one because it stops the contamination of colors. But there's quite a few of my videos because I've been making this book for a long time, so there are quite a few videos of me, and it's called My Little Travel Book of Watercolors. This one I loved because it was just a flippy like here. And I say what I did then is I got other polyview. I ripped the polyview to bits and added it to other pages. So I was putting 5 or 6 pages in between each one. And I broke the spine, but this was one of my favorite ones, have to say. And I think I might make another one like this to put the other colors in, because I do like this size. It's easy to hold. It's really easy to hold, and I think that's why the other one I struggled, because my hand doesn't do corners, because anything with a square edge always digs into the knuckles. So but I have set myself a task to get 1,000 in here, but the one to take with you, I mean, we can get 1,000 colors out of here. You can make, I made 630 colors. That's where I get the 630 from. I made 630 colors from a Cotman cerulean blue, a lemon yellow, and a alizarin crimson, because these are your printer colors, and if your printer can do it. But I did about a 3-hour video, 4-hour video, and it shows printer inks. And I think I get 620 because I take the 2 reds and mix them with a green, so I get twice as many. So this is to get your brick reds, and the other red is to get your purples and your dull maroons and aubergine colors, and the other one is to get your brick reds and your fox colors. But it depends on the red you use with the green. So I've also I also had these colors, my hydras in. They were very sticky, but the colors so vibrant that they were in there. I can't find them at the minute, which is why I think they're about somewhere else. There's another box to come up, and that way I can put my hydras in there as well. And then don't forget, we can always put each drop of hydras with another color. So we've basically got 15 times 15 times 15. We've got millions of colors just with these 15 bottles. But I want the touch and go system rather than mixing colors. I just want to touch a square and go. So I thought I got 72. I wrote them down actually. I got 72 Inktense pencils. So I've got 72 Inktense pencils, 72 Derwent pencils. I've got 24 Graphitint. I've got 120. Oops, it's not good. I've got 120 Neocolor 2s. I've got, oh, that was a quick wee, Alfie. I've got 36 and 36 of those. I've got Peerless. I've got at least 36 Peerless. I think it's 36 Peerless. And then I have I've got 26 on there. So I've got 420, and then I had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 of those. 437. I don't know what I've left out. What have I left out? Oh, I've got these. So there's 6, 12, 24, 36, 36, 38, 40, 42, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50. There's 50 of those. And what else did I have? That just short of 500, 487. So I've got 487 in here. I must have had something else because I've got, I don't know what else I've got. I did have a few other colours in here that are all kind of in bits now. I think I put the graphite, I've got the graphite tint. So I've got, so I'm not even halfway really, am I? I may have to think about that. I don't know how many colours I've got on here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44. I've got 46 on there. So that takes me over 500. So I've got 500 squares, but technically I've got 5,000 colours. I can live with that. Because each square gives you at least 10 shades. Even the Derwent watercolor pencils, you've got 10 shades there. So there's quite a few in here. And again, this is the easy touch and go method. This isn't that we want to mix colors and make things all kind of tertiary and everything else. We don't want to do that. These, I'm a tight Yorkshire lass, and somebody left these in the sun. So they've been in the conservatory in the sun, and there's still a drop left in them. But I dropped one of them. I think this is the one I dropped. So there's still some left in that one. I dropped it and spilt it everywhere. Not a good idea. These are fine art professional watercolors, not the Radiant. The Radiant is an ink type. This is a watercolor. So it's got to say fine art watercolor. But these are amazing. One drop of these lasts forever. And we've got these colors. 25 mil, is it? What is it? And then I've got color on both sides. So they didn't ever mix together. They just kind of a dot squished. So when I opened it, I had the color on both sides, but they always came apart. There's quite a few videos of me peeling them apart and touch and go system. And they're like the Hydrus, they're like the Peerless. They're very, very strong. Because the sides are open, no chance of mildew. Well, everything in here is dried before it's put away. It's always dried. That's why these are up here, because even though eventually they will dry out, that might be tacky, but it's not sticking to my finger. So that will go in. And I will, the reason I've put them on card, it's the only one I've put on postcard, watercolor paper. I'm not going to be touching the paper like I am with all the other squares. I'm going to be touching the color, the little fat squish of color, because this will soak in. This is soaked in now, but I want to touch the color. That's why I've put a little fat blob. I'm hoping that if I touch the middle, I'll end up with the little hole like I have on these here. There's a little hole. And the reason for that was this one is on ordinary extra wet sketchbook paper and it's lasted years, but I bent it the other day and it cracked. So I thought, right, to be on the safe side, I don't need it to be on the surface. This little bit can soak in. All this colour is going to give me a lot of colour for quite a few years. And if I use one of more than another, I can go back and squeeze a bit more on. And that's why I've labelled them all, so that if I do run out of a certain one, it's fine. The only one that's probably going to remain tacky is the carmine, because it's the red. All the ones with red in, the blues with the red in, the brown with the red in, they're all tacky. But they should, in theory, just pull apart. I would think it would pull apart from the plastic rather than the colour pull apart from the water paper. But they're going to be, they are dry. You put them away dry. Even when the doctor called me in the hospital, I shut the book up. Again, I'm using a barely damp brush, so we're not wetting it. We're not wetting any of these squares because they will disintegrate. We're just touching a little bit of it to pick the colour up. We're not using it as a palette. It's not designed for that. It will not take that. It's designed to touch and go. So we get a bit of colour up and we use it. If you want to use a palette like I did, I used this. So when this was stuck in my original one, I used this as a palette. And then I wiped it and cleaned it before I shut it. But the idea is we're not mixing colours. These, you know, if you've got 5,000 colours in here, you don't want to be mixing. This is the touch and go system. So I hope that made sense, guys. The rest of this is going to be like watching paint dry. So I've got to find the cover for my hobonichi. I really have, because I do miss it. To put the colour back up there. So I love the that's the brush one as well. That was just messing about with bright colours. Again, a little bit of go through, but that's because it's a brush pen, and I was experimenting. It didn't go through on the stripy one. That's the very pale one that I did. That's the other side. That's the bit stronger one I did with the patchwork. And then that's the patterned one that I just wanted to use the colours and just do it again, a pale colour. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon or evening, depending where on the planet, and happy colouring. Thanks for watching.